The dog gently nuzzled the tiny bear cub so softly that the wildlife ranger watching from the fence had to wipe tears from his eyes. In 20 years of working in the wild reserves of rural Montana, he had seen many strange things, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The dog's name was Bella. Bella was a bauble, 140 pounds of muscle, instinct, and raw power. She was the kind of dog that made grown men hesitate before opening a gate. Her fur was black as midnight, her chest broad like a barrel, and her paws as large as dinner plates. For centuries, dogs like Bella had been bred to guard, protect, and dominate. Yet right now Bella was gently licking the face of a 3-week-old brown bear cub as if it were the most natural thing in the world. 2 nights earlier the cub's mother had been killed on the highway. A logging truck, a sharp bend in the road, and a driver who never saw her coming. The next morning the ranger, a thick-armed man named Dale, found the cub alone. It was cold, trembling, and making a sound so heartbreaking it barely sounded like an animal at all. It sounded like grief. Dale didn't know what else to do, so he brought the cub back to the farmstead where Bella lived. Bella took one sniff of the cub and made the decision for everyone. She cleaned him carefully. She lay beside him, and when the cub cried during the night, Bella pressed her massive body against him, warming him with the heat of her own body. The cub tried to suckle, searching for milk that wasn't there. Bella allowed it anyway, lying still and patient in a way that seemed almost impossible for a dog bred to be so powerful. Dale began feeding the cub with formula, but deep down he knew something important. It wasn't the milk keeping the cub alive. It was Bella. They named the cub Bruno. Over the next 2 years Bruno grew fast, the way bears do. He went from a tiny, shaking bundle into a powerful young bear with thick shoulders and enormous paws. A playful swipe from Bruno could knock Dale sideways. But with Bella he was always gentle. From the very first night Bella had set the rules. She was the mother. He was the cub. Whenever Bruno got too rough, Bella corrected him with a low growl and a firm look. Instantly Bruno would stop. Not because he feared her, but because he trusted her. Soon word spread through nearby towns. People drove out just to see them. Someone posted a video online and within a week it had millions of views. News crews even came from the city and parked outside Dale's property for days. Everyone wanted to see the dog who had raised a bear. But time has a way of arriving whether you want it to or not. When Bruno turned 2 years old, a letter arrived from the State Wildlife Authority. Bruno was too big now. They said the risk was too great. It was illegal to keep a bear of that size on private land without a special permit that Dale did not have and could not afford. He had 1 month to surrender Bruno to a wildlife rehabilitation facility, 300 miles north. Dale fought the decision. He made phone calls. He wrote letters. He even hired a lawyer. But none of it worked. The law was the law, and the law had no place for love. The morning the wildlife officers came to take Bruno away was painfully quiet. Bella sat at the edge of the yard watching silently as they loaded Bruno into a transport crate. She didn't bark. She didn't attack. She simply sat there perfectly still, her dark eyes following every movement. Inside the crate Bruno pushed his nose through the metal bars and made a soft sound. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was sadness. Dale later said it was the hardest day of his life. And he had already buried his wife. 14 months passed. Then one October morning Dale heard Bella barking in the yard. But the bark sounded different. It wasn't her alarm bark. It wasn't aggressive. It was something else that made the hair on his arms stand up before he even reached the window. He looked outside and stopped breathing. Standing at the tree line about 40 yards from the house was a massive bear. Fully grown now. Huge across the shoulders with fur the deep brown color of autumn earth. It was Bruno. Dale knew instantly. 7 weeks earlier the rehabilitation center had released Bruno back into the wild with a tracking collar. Yet somehow he had found his way home. Bella suddenly ran across the yard. Dale's heart nearly stopped, but he didn't call her back. Something inside him told him not to. Bella slowed as she approached Bruno. The massive bear lowered his head. Then Bruno, a creature powerful enough to tear apart trees, bent down and gently pressed his forehead against the top of Bella's head. Bella pressed back. They stayed like that for a long moment. The enormous bear and the dog who had saved his life. Bruno had not returned out of hunger or confusion. He had returned because some bonds are stronger than distance, law, or wilderness. Bruno stayed near the tree line for 2 days. Bella slept outside both nights. On the third morning he was gone. Back to the wild life he had been returned to. But this time he carried something different with him. The memory of what it meant to be loved without conditions. Later Dale built a small wooden marker at the spot where Bruno had stood. He didn't write much on it. Just 2 names. Bella, Bruno, and 1 word. Family. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.